There's a reason why your past has always been a subject of fascination. They thought they could dig up your flaws, expose your failures, and weaponize your history against you. But what they unearthed shook them to their core. Your journey was never about perfection. It was about divine purpose. Every scar, every mistake, every trial was a brushstroke in the masterpiece that Yeshua was painting over your life. Those who searched for proof of your downfall were not prepared for what they found. They expected brokenness, but encountered grace. They wanted evidence of failure, but stumbled upon a testimony so powerful, it made them tremble. The whispers of your past echoed louder than their expectations. But it wasn't whispers of shame. It was the undeniable roar of transformation. The same ones who tried to mold you into their limited understanding now stand in awe, unable to control the narrative they thought they could twist. So they keep digging, desperate to find a weakness, a flaw, a justification for their doubt. But with every layer they unearth, they only expose more of the brilliance God placed within you. They thought your past would be your prison. Instead, it became your weapon. What they failed to understand is that your scars were never signs of defeat. They were proof of survival. Every betrayal, every setback, every rejection didn't break you. It refined you. The relationships that fell apart didn't leave you lost. They pushed you closer to your divine calling. The failures they expected to define you only became stepping stones for your elevation. And this is what unsettles them the most. Your past did not weaken you. It strengthened you. They assumed the pain you endured would leave you bitter, but it only made you wiser. They assumed the trials you faced would destroy you, but they only positioned you for greater things. They expected to find a fragile foundation, but instead, they discovered unshakable roots. They were searching for proof of your weakness, but all they found was the undeniable evidence of God's hand upon your life. So they ask, how did you survive? How did you rise above? What they don't realize is that the answer was never meant for them to understand. Your strength doesn't come from this world. It comes from a divine source they cannot comprehend. Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. This was never just a verse to you. It became your lifeline. In the darkest nights, when no one saw the battles you fought, when you cried out, God, I can't do this alone, He answered, covering you with peace, shielding you with His presence. Now, as they stand face to face with the truth of your journey, they can no longer explain away your resilience. What they uncovered wasn't evidence of failure. It was the blueprint of perseverance. They thought your story would end in tragedy, but instead, they witnessed the unfolding of a divine testimony, one that defied their logic, shattered their expectations, and left them speechless. They will keep searching, trying to define you, to label you, to explain you through their limited understanding. But they will never find the answers they seek, because your life was never meant to fit inside their small human vision. Your past was never a mistake. It was preparation. Your pain was never pointless. It was a prophecy. And now, the world sees what they were never ready to accept. You were never just anybody. You were chosen. People witnessed the extraordinary way setbacks propelled you forward. They saw the scars, but couldn't grasp the healing. They noticed the closed doors, but overlooked the open windows Yeshua provided. Your life was a testament to Isaiah 55:8. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways. This truth was woven into every chapter of your story, leaving others unable to reconcile what they saw with what they expected. As they searched for answers, they encountered the spiritual foundation of your life. Every secret they uncovered pointed to the source of your strength, the nights of prayer, the moments of surrender to Yeshua, and the quiet victories where his presence was undeniable. What shook them most was the power of the unseen. They realized your life wasn't just shaped by visible forces, but by spiritual forces guiding you. The prayers of those who came before, divine protection, and grace all created a reality they couldn't explain. Their fear grew as they discovered they weren't dealing with just a person, but a life touched by the divine. Each secret they unearthed fortified your story, making them question everything. The deeper they delved, the more they sensed an undeniable pattern, a mark on your life that couldn't be attributed to chance or circumstance. It was the evidence of something greater moving through your story, bearing the fingerprints of Yeshua. Though they couldn't name what they saw, they found moments where you should have been consumed by despair, yet rose again. They uncovered relationships that left you in pieces, but instead of bitterness, found a heart that had healed stronger. Every turn in your journey, no matter how painful, seemed orchestrated for a purpose they couldn't explain. This left them with questions that had no earthly answers. What they didn't understand is that Yeshua had been with you all along, working silently to turn trials into triumphs. When they looked for failures, they found grace. When they searched for weakness, they saw his strength. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. This truth was etched into every chapter of your story. They thought uncovering your past would give them power over you, that exposing your flaws would allow them to control the narrative. But instead of finding weakness, they found a story of redemption. Instead of uncovering shame, they unearthed strength. What they discovered shook them to their core because it pointed to something beyond their understanding, something they couldn't manipulate or explain away. Their digging was never innocent curiosity. It was a calculated move, a strategy designed to discredit you. They believed that if they could expose your failures, they could diminish your impact. But as they sifted through the details of your past, their plans backfired. Rather than unearthing evidence of your unworthiness, they found undeniable proof of resilience, of battles fought and won, of a faith that had only deepened through adversity. The more they searched for cracks, the more their own insecurities were laid bare. What unsettled them the most wasn't just the strength you carried. It was the source of that strength. They couldn't comprehend how you had endured so much and yet emerged with unwavering confidence. They saw the trials you had faced, the betrayals, the heartbreak, the setbacks, but what they failed to recognize was the divine covering that shielded you through it all. They wanted to expose your flaws, but instead, they found the hand of God moving in your life. As they continued their search, their focus shifted. They no longer just wanted to know about your past. They wanted to understand the very foundation of your existence. They expected to trace your beginnings to something ordinary, something explainable. Instead, they uncovered a legacy that defied logic. Your strength wasn't just personal, it was ancestral. The battles you fought weren't new. They were part of a greater narrative, a spiritual inheritance passed down through generations. They stumbled upon prayers whispered by your ancestors, sacrifices made, faith preserved through unimaginable hardships. What they unearthed wasn't just your story. It was a divine blueprint written long before they ever set their eyes on you. The deeper they dug, the more their fear grew. They wanted to find a reason to discredit you, but instead, they kept encountering evidence of divine intervention. Your life wasn't a collection of random events. It was orchestrated. Every setback had a purpose, every loss had a lesson, and every moment of rejection had been a redirection toward something greater. They saw the scars, but they missed the healing. They saw the struggles, but they overlooked the victories. Now they find themselves at a crossroads, faced with a truth they never expected. They set out to expose you, but in the process, they have been forced to confront their own brokenness. Your testimony has become a mirror reflecting their deepest fears, the realization that they, too, have wounds they have never healed, battles they have never faced, and a purpose they have never pursued. Their fear is no longer just about you. It is about what your story proves. If the same God who carried you through the fire is real, if He truly transformed your pain into power, then what does that mean for them? This question lingers in their minds, unsettling their spirit. They thought your past would bring you shame, but instead, it became your testimony. They thought your failures would disqualify you, but instead, they became the very reasons you were chosen. Now they can only watch as you rise, unstoppable, because the power that sustains you is one they can neither comprehend nor defeat. The more they uncovered, the more it became undeniable that your story was touched by something beyond human comprehension, a force that turned despair into hope and darkness into light. What they had expected to find was evidence of failure, regret, and brokenness. But instead, they stumbled upon a transformation so profound that it left them unsettled. They had hoped to exploit your wounds, only to discover that those wounds had been healed so thoroughly that even the scars were barely visible. The mistakes they thought would tarnish your reputation had, in fact, become milestones of grace, each one marking a moment where divine intervention rewrote your destiny. As they dug deeper, they encountered turning points in your life that defied logic, moments where the natural course of events had been interrupted by something supernatural. There were instances where, by all worldly measures, you should have fallen, yet you had risen higher. Situations that should have left you broken beyond repair had instead strengthened you, transforming pain into wisdom, rejection into redirection, and loss into divine positioning. What they couldn't see was how Yeshua had been at work even in your most broken moments, how His grace had been the thread weaving every setback into a setup for something greater. Every failure they uncovered was met with His forgiveness. Every moment of suffering they tried to highlight was covered by His mercy. What they didn't understand was that your life was never just a story of perseverance. It was a testimony of redemption. He makes all things new, Revelation 21:5. This wasn't just a promise. It was the undeniable reality of your life. They couldn't explain how you stood unshaken after storms that should have destroyed you, how you continued to rise when everything should have held you back. They didn't know about the nights when Yeshua whispered peace into your weary heart, or the moments when His strength carried you through what felt impossible. They saw the external signs of your transformation, but failed to grasp the invisible hand that had been guiding your every step. As they pieced together your history, they were forced to confront something they weren't prepared to see: undeniable evidence of divine intervention. How could someone who had faced so much pain and failure walk with such confidence and purpose? How could a person who had endured betrayal, heartbreak, and rejection radiate such unshakable peace? The answer eluded them because it wasn't rooted in anything they could measure, manipulate, or control. It was rooted in grace, a grace so profound that it defied their understanding. Your life became a mirror, reflecting their own fears and insecurities. They saw what could happen when a person surrenders their brokenness to Yeshua, and it unsettled them. It made them question everything they thought they knew about failure and success, strength and weakness. They wanted to believe your transformation was something they could rationalize, but the truth of redemption isn't logical. It's supernatural. The more they uncovered, the more their fear grew. They had assumed that digging into your past would give them power over you, but instead, it revealed a truth they weren't ready to handle. Their fear wasn't just about your resilience. It was about the realization that nothing they found could hold you back. What they intended as an investigation became a confrontation with their own limitations. They expected to see shame and regret in your history, moments where they could claim victory over your identity. But what they found was a divine narrative of triumph. Every setback they thought would weaken you had instead strengthened you. Every betrayal, every loss, every failure had become a stepping stone that propelled you forward. What truly unnerved them was that you hadn't just survived, you had thrived. They had anticipated that their scrutiny would break you, but instead, it only sharpened your focus. Every whisper of doubt, every attempt to discredit you, became a reminder of why you had come so far. Their scrutiny was nothing more than the backdrop against which your purpose shone even brighter. What they couldn't understand was the strength of someone who had walked through the fire and come out refined. They assumed that their fear would intimidate you, that their opposition would shake your resolve. But instead, their resistance became your fuel. Every time they tried to diminish your worth, it only reminded you of why you were chosen for this journey. The battles they thought would exhaust you only reignited your determination. You didn't need their approval to keep moving forward. Their fear only magnified the power within you. They mistook your confidence for arrogance, your boldness for defiance. But what they failed to see was that you weren't standing in your own strength. You were standing in divine alignment. Their fear became an unspoken acknowledgement of your authority, even if they couldn't admit it out loud. What truly unsettled them wasn't just your ability to rise, but what your rise revealed about them. Your presence forced them to confront their own insecurities, the realization that what you possessed, they lacked. And as they continued their search, their determination turned to desperation. They convinced themselves that if they just dug deep enough, they would find something, anything, to diminish your light. But the harder they tried, the clearer it became that their assumptions had been built on illusions. What they uncovered wasn't a facade or a carefully crafted image, but a life transformed by grace. They had always believed that your strength was an act, your confidence a performance, and your resilience temporary. But as they unraveled the layers of your story, they were confronted with a reality far different from what they had expected. What they found was not a person pretending to be strong, but a warrior refined through fire. Every hardship they uncovered only added to the growing realization that your life was anything but ordinary. They saw the moments where others would have crumbled under the weight of rejection, betrayal, and failure. Yet instead of seeing defeat, they saw evidence of your rise. You didn't just endure, you transformed. And it was this transformation that shook them to their core. Because what they couldn't ignore was the presence of a power beyond human comprehension woven into your journey. The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Psalm 118:22. This truth defined your life, and it was a reality they couldn't deny. The deeper they went, the more they saw how your story defied human expectations. Their search was no longer just about your past. It became a search for understanding. They wanted to make sense of a strength that didn't fit their framework. But the answers they sought could only be found in the divine purpose that had shaped your life all along. Their illusions of power and superiority crumbled as they came face to face with a truth they couldn't manipulate. Your life was never an accident. It wasn't a series of fortunate coincidences. It was a testament to the grace of Yeshua working through you. The more they uncovered, the more the weight of their own actions began to sink in. They had set out to expose your past, but instead, they were forced to confront their own shadows, the insecurities, fears, and doubts they carried within themselves. What they believed would be a weapon against you turned into a spotlight on their own weaknesses. And as their confidence unraveled, Your strength became even more undeniable. They had expected to find a person defined by their past, but instead, they found someone who had transcended it entirely. The very details they sought to twist into ammunition became monuments to your resilience. You weren't hiding from your story. You had already conquered it. And that's what unsettled them the most. Not just your unwavering composure, but the freedom with which you walked. You had embraced your journey, scars and all, and their attempts to use it against you only amplified your victory. They had come searching for weakness, but instead they found a life anointed by divine purpose. And in trying to expose you, they had only revealed the depth of your calling. Their fear wasn't just about your strength. It was about the power behind it, a power they could neither understand nor control. And that's why you cannot be stopped. If this message resonated with you, make sure to subscribe and join this community of chosen ones who are walking in their divine purpose. Become a channel member to access exclusive content that will strengthen and empower your journey. And if you'd like to support this mission, you can buy me a coffee. Your support helps keep this message alive and reaching those who need it most. This is your time. This is your moment. Rise and walk boldly in your purpose.